Very good. Right, so we're just talking about light and heavy syllables, and I'm sorry I'd forgotten to turn it on when we started. In English poetic meter, the light and the heavy are often written like that. Da 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 da. The iambic pentameter, for example. Da 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 da. Yeah, that's a long, short, long. Stressed and unstressed, but it's kind of more regular in Pali. You have this word means strength, Allah. This word means strength, and there are two light syllables. You've got a short vowel followed by end of syllable, ba, la, short vowel, short vowel. We have, so the metric designation of that is short and short. We have a completely different word, bala, which used to mean, the original meaning in Sanskrit was a child, and then by extension it came to mean a childish person, ultimately a fool, as we had in the Mangala Sutta, a sevana jabalanam, not hanging around with fools. Where you have, so the rule is, and the metric designation of bala is short. The rule is if a consonant, if a vowel is long, then always and without any question, the syllable is heavy. So that rule always applies. If the vowel is short, then the syllable can be either light or heavy. And it's very easy to know which. We look at bala, short. The word for night is ratti. It's a short vowel, but it's followed by a double consonant. That makes it a heavy syllable. In fact, there is also a separate word, rati. These are two entirely separate words, rati meaning night and rati meaning enjoyment. The metric designation of rati, it's heavy light, rati. And with these machines that can tell you the exact length of time in microseconds that the pronunciation of each syllable takes, the pronunciation of the rat with the double T is exactly twice as long as the one with the short. So rati, rati. Not only is the T doubled, you can actually tell that the syllable takes longer to say. And this idea of it actually taking longer is the one's vital importance if we're chanting in unison. And you very soon know if you or somebody else has got it wrong when we're chanting in unison. So, on this one, rati, short. So hopefully this, and basically there's nothing more to it. It's as simple as that. When a word ends in an swara, say balam, the neuter form strength, because we've got the syllable ending in a consonant, that makes it a heavy syllable, balam.
Okay, so M dot is taken as a long, is it always long?
Yeah, let me get this right from the dot here. Where you get any vowel followed by the M with the subdot.
Okay.
The vowel, it's a rule of Pali, not a Sanskrit, it's a rule of Pali. You can never ever have a long vowel before the subject M. The vowel is always short.
Okay.
But the word ending in im, that's always that is a heavy syllable. So it's a short vowel followed by a consonant.
Yeah.
So bearing that in mind then, would you like to have another go? Making this careful differentiation. And if you want to do it in a chanting way, that's absolutely fine. But what I'm listening out for from you now is the careful differentiation between the light syllables and the heavy ones.
I think Sam should have a go personally.
His torment will follow. Okay, over to you, Angie.
Oh dear. Okay. Tasmahi bhutani sameta sabbe metam karota manusya pajaya.
Very good. You see, that was it. You got the longs and the shorts and the lights and heavies very carefully differentiated. That was very good.
I don't know how the chant goes because I've not heard it. So I don't know how I would.
Not all that differently.
I think it's Asmai Bhutani Sameta Sambe Metam Garota Manusya Pajaya. But no, that's just one way of
Yes,
doing it.
yeah.
They're very
That's the Sri Lankan.
Yeah.
I was just thinking as I was listening to that, sounds a bit like you can imagine a Sri Lankan singing that.
Yeah.
They seem to be a little bit more tuneful in Sri Lanka than in Thailand.
More tuneful.
I agree.
Lucky there's no Thai person here. They do much more complicated vocalization.
As the Thais.
No, the Sri Lankan.
The Sri Lankan.
They all do all this kind of fancy stuff. Mid-syllable. It's very intricate.
Okay, I'm changing the tone.
Yes.
Problem is they do when they speak English. My a lot of my candidates from Sri Lanka struggle.
That's right.
But by the way, talking of longs and shorts and chanting, I did an earlier stage before I moved to Manchester, inquire of Eileen, whether there was any central authority that would correct recurring errors in some of the chanting that I had been hearing.
Right.
And it seems that there wasn't any central authority, so it's just a one-man battle. There's one particular thing so many people get wrong. I'm sure you'll get it right, Francis. In the precepts,
yes,
the one that begins Gamesu.
Yes.
Can you just say that line?
I remember that one.
Sure.
You got it wrong. What did you say? Michachara. Very good. It's a Michachara.
Is it Amesu Michachara?
Either they were wrong or you misheard. It's the Achara is just means conduct.
Right.
It's not achara, it's achara. And so misconduct would be michachara. And the ablative from misconduct, michachara. Now, because it's alien to our native phonetics of English to have three long syllables like that, michachara. We wouldn't do that as native English speakers. Therefore, the phonetics of our own language compels us to shorten it. Is that when you have as a telephone ring?
Yes.
Oh, right, because I use exactly that same term as my timer.
Do you, right?
The timer is actually on. They're constantly walking out of the kitchen, leaving the gas on. So I set the timer. So.
No. Yes.
So remember, it's michachara. The other day when I heard Sudhiro chanting, I noticed it wasn't exactly Michachara, but he slightly shortened it. And I didn't feel it was my place to say, Oi, Sudhiro.
Right.
But I slightly short, but not fully shortened, Michachara, which I was, hang on, I don't quite like that. But that may also be a feature of Thai phonetics, because the Thais do, I don't like to use the word mangle, but anyway, a lot of odd things happen to Pali when Thais are chanting it,
Right.
which doesn't happen on the Sri Lankans,
Is that right?
because the Sri Lankan is the same language group, and essentially the phonetics, it's their native phonetics. So that they tend not to get those things wrong. Oh, another thing where we're on the subject, I noticed some people in Adinadana saying Adinadana. It's not Adinadana.
Yeah, no, yeah, I do.
But that's a less common error, though I have heard it in our own shrine room here.
Ooh, well, I think you should maybe go to, and maybe you can't actually, no. Have you been to Pali.org?
Is that the watchdog?
No, that's the chanting website. PaliChanting.org, sorry.
So is it our website?
Yes, well, it's been done by us, yes. It's,
Right, yeah. I haven't actually.
you could ask them whether the Pali police are operating.
Probably lots of people use that to practice.
Well, I would go and just check that. I hope it's right.
I'll check it out.
Well, you could then certainly email them. So. Noticed.
Is it Charles Shaw?
Well, Charles has been chairing it. There's a group of people.
Yeah, whether my lone voice would have any weight. I had Charles and
Rachel be onto it like
very ferocious. On my side, on my side,
like whatever it is, a tiger. Yes. No, but it's good to have these things pointed out.
It is, yeah.
It is.
Those recordings on PaliChanting.org, I assume, because there used to be a CD before that. Website,
Yeah.
And I assume that's like the kind of like the one thing. That's like the standard version of chanting that people would.
Well, hopefully there are some mistakes there.
Yeah.
To say it's not perfect.
In fact, there's quite a library of chances built up on that.
Yes, it has. Yeah.
So, would you like to have a go at reciting just the first the line to Smahi and then the Jaya? But again, with focus on the longs and the shorts and the double and the single.
Kasma ibu buta misa me sabbe netang karota manisia pajaya.
Very good, yes. Excellent. So, Kasmahi Bhutani Samet Sabbe. Sabba, means all or every. We have the Bhuta, the nominative form Bhuto, a being, plural Bhuta. You might have wanted to see, since it's all beings, you might have wanted to see Sabba Bhuta, but it's not Sabbe Bhuta, because that's simply because it's known as the pronominal declension.
Right.
Whether there's a category of words which decline slightly, they end the nominative, the stem forms are short a, and the nominative is short or ego, sabbo, and so on. But the plural, the masculine plural ends in it, sabbe. It just does. Nisameta, listen well, hearken well. This word has slightly troubled me. Nisameta, listen, pay attention. The reason it slightly troubled me is that for almost every word in Sanskrit and Pali, you can trace it back, you can get its derivation. If it's a root with a prefix, which nisameta is nitsam, you can work it out why it is what it is. There are a few of them that are just awkward and don't readily yield their meaning. It's in Sanskrit, it's nishamayati, which the normal meaning is to calm down, which you can understand. Sham meaning calm, shamata, samata means calming. So nishamayati means to make something calm down. Now then, what has troubled me is why then can that also be listen well, mark well? I just don't know it. So we just have to live with our ignorance here. And I haven't found an explanation. Polytech Society's dictionary or Margaret Cohn, they can record those meanings, but they don't give an explanation for this apparent anomaly. It's something we just have to live with.
I was thinking of like the difference between samatha and vipassana, and the way that we do the samatha to be able to listen in a certain kind of way with vipassana. You have to do. So it's kind of like you have to when you do samatha, you can kind of got things that kind of know. So it's like if you don't do samatha, then you're flooded with thinking, our own views and thinking. And when you do samatha, that goes away, and then we can do vipassana. So it's like really listen, like with that kind of samatha quality.
I remember schoolmasters who used to say to me, very ingenious, Whelan, but rather too ingenious. I mean, it's an interesting explanation. There's something that I mean, with great sadness leads me to say that I don't quite trace. In fact, as you know, the original meaning of the word sham just means calm. And calming, and its specialized use in Buddhist circles exists only in Pali. I haven't seen it in Sanskrit, later Sanskrit. So there's nothing, as far as I know, in regular Vedic or early Sanskrit, where that reflects shamatha, samatha as a specific form of meditation. However, it has happened to me several times that a student has given some idea and explanation. I've dismissed it. And then I've thought about it over the intervening periods. Maybe right after all, that it could be that next week I'll be congratulating on this genius explanation. So anyway, tasmahi, therefore, sabbe bhuta, all beings, nisameta, listen well, metankarota manusya prajaya, which really make metta, or behave with metta, exercise metta towards humankind. And the second line, divacharatocha harantiye balim tasmahine rattata appamatta. Occasionally in Pali, and certainly in the later verse, you find Sanskritisms creeping in. These diva and ratto are actually Sanskritisms, they're Vedic in instrumentals. Diva meaning a day, and rati, the word I've just been talking earlier, meaning a night So I won't bother to go into the Vedic instrumentals at this point. There's just these survivals from Vedic. There are a few odd survivals that you see in Pali that don't affect the general grammar. Just as we have in English, the occasional odd survivals. Have you ever told your students about the dative plural in English?
No, I don't think so.
No, in fact, it was only quite recently. When you use the expression not in the old day, but in the olden days.
Oh, yeah.
The olden is a survival of an Anglo-Saxon dative plural. So we do not have a dative plural in English. We have these odd survivals, these isolated survivals, and just here diva ratto, similar kind of isolated survivals from Vedic instrumentals. By day and by night, diva ratto.
So, and then you indicate that they're indeclinable because they're not. Is it just
Okay, I kind of chickened out there. Maybe I just quickly type my ending because we can treat it as a fixed adverbial form. I could have. Oh, actually, look, come on, I didn't totally chicken out. I did it in the notes. The form divar reflects the alternative Vedic instrumental. And in fact, that's the instrumentals, and ratto is actually a locative. It's a regular locative, ra-trau. But in Pali, it wouldn't have that form. So I put indeclinable because in Pali, ask the average Pali speaker, and they would probably say that they're just fixed, crystallized forms, and they might not even know that they were, one was an instrumental and the other was the locative. So they're just fixed adverbial forms. So those ye here in Devachara Doja Haranti ye, the ye means who, those who. I mentioned the pronominal declension of the masculine plural ending in an e. Yo is which, sabba, each, every or all, and the plural sabbe and ye. So ye is those who. It's a masculine plural form. So those who haranti, I would have expected to see aharanti, but haranti take, but I would expect to see more aharanti bring. Those who bring the balim is an offering. Those who bring you offerings. So for that reason, O all of you beings, show metta towards humankind. Ye, those who haranti, bring you balim, offerings, divacharatocha, by day and by night. And this harati, I can't remember whether I mentioned earlier, it's the root hri and bhri. Harati, bharati were originally the same root. And both become quite common. Oh, so I think the gold rubber is in the middle. So there are two routes. Which is the one that has come into English as to bear, meaning to carry, and equally the one that has come into Latin ferre, to carry it, and then into English to transfer, to carry across, to infer, to carry in. It has happened in several cases. You get the original form. It's also with roots beginning with the as well. Sometimes it's lenited, it's softened, just that the B has dropped, just leaving an H, so bre, alternatively hre. Now, I would feel tempted to say these are alternative versions of the same root. However, already by the time of Panini, our mighty grammarian Panini, they had been distinguished into two, and they said these are two different roots. And they're listed as two different roots. So fine, we just accept them as two different roots. They're helpful just in knowing what they mean, that they are different roots. So they're originally the same, but treated as different. And with essentially the same meaning, just carrying. I explained last time, in fact, with Sudhira here as well, vihara, literally carrying away, where you take yourself away into your private space. That becomes your dwelling, your private dwelling space. So here, ye balim haranti, those who take or bring the bali, which is the offering, typically an offering made to non-human spirits, like the earth spirits, forest spirits. Divacharo by day and by night. Tasmahine rakata appamatta. Ne is an alternative form of te, meaning them. Tasmahi, again, we had that at the beginning of this verse, Tasmahi, for that reason, and therefore, Tasmahi ne rakata, therefore protect them, appamatta. Appamatta was meaning with heedfulness, with non-pamada. This, by the way, is the participial form, the past participle form. It could equally have been put in the instrumental, appamadena, with appamada, with heedfulness. So tasmahi bhutani same tasabbe mittam karota manusiya pajaya divacharatto chaharanti ye balim tasmahi nera kata aptamatta. One thing to remember about the past participle. We have the root bud. We have the root mad. You form the past participle by adding da. But then that will cause a change because you can't have bud da. This results then in Buddha. Something slightly different happens with matta. All that happens is the dirt converts itself into a ta, so that's when it becomes matta. And this is a regular feature you'll find throughout the language. The root ending in ta followed by ta always becomes, for example, niruddha, meaning ceased or stop. And any root followed by a T, will always become a double T. But just to throw a little spanner in the works, there are many roots ending in a D that actually make their past participle with a double N so because the past participle in Sanskrit sometimes ends with a na, not a ka. Blame them not, because we do the same. We sometimes end with an ed, but some with certain verbs with an en. So that actually exactly reflects this ancient formation of the past participle now. We didn't say righted, but written, and not dry, but driven, and so on. This feature is also quite common in Pali, in yes, Sanskrit and Pali. Sometimes it's done in both ways. And a little bit irregular. I'll give you two irregular past participles here, but you know them already. Maybe even without knowing you know them. We've got our root da, meaning to give. And it does Sorry?
It's dana.
That's the verbal noun, the act of giving. But the actual past participle, given, do you know what that is?
Not dikti, is it? No.
You've only chanted it a million times, a dinna dana.
Yeah.
It's the dinna means given. And it's irregular. You would have expected to see data, like from nya to know, you get nyata, and so on. But it's a dinna. And that is why, if you undertake to refrain from taking what is not given, that which is not given is simply the adinna, the ungiven. It makes another past participle in datta. The dinna and datta both have the same meaning. There was that malicious, was it the cousin, the one who set the wild elephant on the Buddha? Devadatta, God-given. So a gift of God, like the Greek name Theodore, Devadatta, literally God-given. So dinna and datta are just two irregular past participles from the root da. Now this word Pali, which is a ritual offering, especially to non-humans, like forest spirits and things. I haven't been able to ascertain etymologically whether it comes from bala, meaning strength. It sounds as if it might, because you're giving the offering to these spirits to give them strength and comfort, which is why these food offerings are given. That could possibly be it. And the rakata, of course, is a verb that you know well already. Bhavatu sabbamangalam rakhantu sabbadevata. The monk Sangharakshika was the Sangha protected by the Sangha. Rakami, I protect, and so on. Like I mentioned to you earlier, also that the Greek root lex and alex is from that same root. So Alex, Araksh, Alexander, protector of men. So, any questions or comments arising out of that? We can move on to just briefly look at the second amendment and then have a tea break. Instrumental in lesson 3 of the Middle. Okay, anyway, any comments or questions you have, you can raise them any time later. So looking now at the third verse.
Can I just ask you, James?
Yes.
When the first one we did was that maybe the Metastada, you put the full translation underneath,
Mhm.
and then you stopped doing that. Were you aware of that? I mean, I just wondered why you've done it. Was it?
Maybe it was just as the way I was doing it was changing over time. So I actually did the Metta Sutta. The text that I prepared and gave you, I think I did about three years ago.
Did you? I see. Okay. Yeah.
And then I think my thinking went like this. That if you look down in the parallel text box, and I
Yeah.
break it down the Pali on one side, the English on the other, if you actually read down the English, ignoring the Pali, just read down the English, you more or less get a translation.
Very clever, James. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I just have to remember to read vertically.
Read vertically.
Yeah.
Let's just test it with the three. Whatever treasure, but the hill hereof, all that is not the same as the dirt. This too is the slime. By this truth, yeah, I think it was
Very
works.
good.
Okay, it's not a flowing English translation,
No,
but that's not what we're here for. We're here to
Yeah.
understand the Pali.
Okay.
So yes, so I think I reckoned thusly that
So you've altered the. Have you altered the order of the words? No.
No, that's
sometimes
why
I have.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
some words
Yeah.
are repeated, like therefore is written twice, so. Yeah, so it's not just the vocabulary list.
Yeah. Very
So
impressive.
I think it should work.
Yep. No, it obviously does there.
And actually, yes, now you think of it, now you mention it, well, I think a bit more. As you may have come to see by now, I'm constantly alerting people to dangers of translation. It's a faulty translation. That's what it means in English. Hang on. We're here to see it, to understand the Pali. So this is a kind of a crude way that slavishly follows the Pali. So it tells you what it means to help you unravel the Pali sentence.
Yeah.
And I think I reckon that was exactly what was needed here, without throwing in a translation.
Right. Very good. Thank you.
Do let me know if the system ever fails and you do not get a roughly comprehensible English sentence by reading vertically in the right-hand column.
Right.
Right. Should we have a little break for
Good idea. Good idea. What would you like? Any herb?
any herbal?
Any
Yes, please. Thanks very much.
Oh, stretch.
Oops, sorry. Hello, Teresa. Hang on, just adjusting my phone. Oops. Hello, can you hear? Say again?
I can hear you, sorry.
Okay, good. Not to worry. Teresa, I'm just in the middle of teaching. We're just having our 5-minute break between 2 sessions of 1 hour.
Okay.
So I won't be home now until about an hour and a half or more from now. So should we try and have a chat sometime tomorrow?
Why don't we do that? Yes,
Let's-
I think I'm still on this planet tomorrow, so
I hope you will be. Have you any imminent plans to leave?
no, but sometimes in the way my life is, I don't know if I'm on arse or my elbow, but I think tomorrow I'm on my feet.
Okay.
So I mean, all is good, yes. You
So
want to try me or should I try you? You try me.
I'll try you.
Yeah.
Okay then.
Okay.
Okay.
Jolly good,
Right.
right?
Bye.
Happy anniversary.
How do you know it's the anniversary?
20th of May. It's a very famous song.
Is it?
Next week on the 20th of May, I proclaim Liza Doolittle Day.
Oh, goodness me.
Anyway, I'll let you go. Too busy.
I am. Okay.
Bye.
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 Just pausing for the tea break. Recording.
You should appoint a iPad
Prefect.
iPad monitor, but not me. I'm not good at remembering. But
All collectively.
Yes, okay, right.
monitors. But don't fall into the trap of the Spanish proverb, obra común, obra de ningún. Everybody's work, nobody's work.
Yes. Wow.
So anyway, Ashwa is a horse. By regular phonetic mutation, it becomes Asa in Pali. And you know why, this is regular. So Pali doesn't have a sh and sa, and we've got a consonant cluster, shwa, regularly becomes just a double S in Pali. But the interesting thing is that you frequently find that where you have a sh sound in Sanskrit, it turns up in Latin or Greek as a k, very frequently. So that is why ashwa you find it in Latin as equus and equestrian, equine. Ash, ak, equus. And another of my favorites for this phenomenon is the root nash, meaning to destroy or to be destroyed. And destruction often occurs with the prefix vi. So vinasha is destruction. And in one of the chants, may all our defilements vinasamentu, vinasamentu. So vinasha, destruction, vinasa in Pali, and vinasam entu, literally, may they go to destruction. And this sh, as I said, sometimes turns up in Latin as a k, and it does in this place. That's knock. It comes up in Latin as a knock, as in nocere, to harm, from which we get noxious, harmful. We get innocent. Innocens means not harming. You haven't done any harm. You are innocent. From that nash. And it also turns up sometimes as an S in Greek, which we have, correct me if I'm wrong, nosology, which is the science of the classification of illnesses. That's from that same, as in vinasamentu, nosology, it's the same root.
Right. Is it, sorry, are we on lesson 2?
Lesson 3.
Lesson 3, right.
Yeah. So the main part of this is to look at the instrumental case. The instrumental case is, the meaning is very largely in its name. If you're writing with a pen, so in that meaning you're using a pen. If you come by car, and if you are, as in the examples here, cutting trees with saws, like it's the instrument that you are using to do something. You can travel by road, by car. You can do something with an implement, with a tool. Another important use of the instrumental is with the prepositions. And look at the top of page 3. It's sadim or saha, meaning with, and that is that means more in the company of, rather like our English preposition with. It has several meanings. The two most important meanings, you are, for example, you are walking with a stick, walking with a friend. With means has two slightly different meanings. That with a stick means you are using a stick to help you walk. That would be the instrumental in Sanskrit and Pali. But if you are walking with a friend, that is in the company of a friend, then you use the preposition saha or something. The same meaning, which takes the instrumental. So chalami means I walk, chalami, and the danda is a stick. So if I say I walk with a stick, say dandena chalami, it's this ena ending, dandena chalami, not saha. If I said dandena saha chalami, that would be rather absurd. It's just that I'm walking along and my stick is walking along next to me. So if it's a pure instrument that you're using, just use the instrument on its own. If you're in the company of, use saha or something.
And what tense does saha take?
Saha is a preposition, postposition.
Right, okay.
So so that we're not talking about tenses here. We're talking about.
So, sorry, no, not tenses.
Cases. So that saha takes the instrumental, which is more widely being dealt with in this lesson as well.
Okay. So it's still the instrumental, but you add saha as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
okay.
we know mitta, is a friend. So I'm walking with my friend. So mittena saha chalami.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm walking with a stick, just dandena, meaning I'm using the stick as an instrument to help me walk.
Right.
And for nouns, nouns, I should say, nouns and adjectives ending in a short a, the instrumental singular is ena, which you see a lot. For example, in our Ratana Sutta, the last line of verse 3, etena satchena. This truth is etam satcham, but by this truth, by means of this truth, that's etena satchena. That's the ena ending. And we have in one of our chants, it's the puja offering, kusumena nena, kusumena. Kusuma means a blossom. So I make the offering and kusumena anena with this blossom, gives the ena ending. And in verse 4 of the Ratanasam, natena dhamena samatikinchi, there is nothing equal to. So if something is sama, same as equal to, what it's equal to is also in instrumental. So, natena dhamena samatikinchi, there is nothing that is equal to that dhamma. So ena is the singular, and the plural ends in ehi.
Yeah. How do you pronounce it? Ehi.
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 Yeah.
You'll sometimes see the form ebhi, which is a survival from Vedic, but by far the commonest form is the ehi. So looking at the examples given here, you have nara, a man, narena, and in the plural, narehi, instrumentals. Matula, lanko, matulena, matulehi, and kassaka, a farmer. Instrumental kassakena, instrumental singular kassakena, instrumental plural kassakehi. Although we aren't going through the exercises in these classes, I've done YouTube videos going through them all in detail for the hyper keen among you who want to it's all there for you. But it will be useful just to go through these brief examples in sentence formation. So we have the first one: the monk goes to the village with the man. Look in samano. It's the standard nominative singular samano. Narena saddhim, with the man, gamang gacchati. So gamo, nominative village. He goes to the village, it's the accusative of motion. So gamang gacchati. He goes with the man, narena saddhim, or narena saha, with the man, gamang gacchati. So this sentence is samano narena saddhim gamang gacchati.
So is there no difference between saddhim and saha? Is there anything, can you choose anything?
There's no difference at all. You indiscriminately use either, and you'll see both used in the same sentence. And the next sentence, just an example given: the sun sees the moon with his uncle. So putto matulena saha chandam passati. So putto, nominative ending, matulena saha, with his uncle, chandam passati. Notice that the Pali here correctly just says matulena saha, literally with the uncle, with the uncle. If it's obvious whose uncle it is, then you don't need to say his uncle, even though we do it in English. You only do it if there's some doubt about it, or to emphasize. Are you going with your uncle or my uncle? And because you're distinguishing. But he's doing something with uncle. That means just with his uncle. But Pali perfectly okay to just say with uncle without specifying his. So Puto Matulena Saha Chandam Passati. And the third sentence, the singular example is Kassako Kakachena Bukkam Chindati. So Chindati cuts. Rukkam Chindati, he cuts the tree or chops the tree. Kakachena, with a sword. And note here, the first two examples, you're doing something with a person, I mean, in the company of a person. And that's why with the man, Narena Satyam, with his uncle, Matulena Saha or Matulena Satyam, but he's chopping the tree or cutting the tree with a saw, is Kukuchena Chindati. Again, no Saha or Satyam, because it's the actual instrument of doing something. So Kakacha, it's a saw. We have the Kakachupama Sutta, the sutta of the simile of the saw. It's one of those bits rather difficult advice that if you a two-handed saw, if they're sawing your limbs off, if you bear any ill will towards them, you are not one of my disciples. Bit of a tall order, but that is what the Blessed One said. And that is the Kakacha Upama Sutta. Kakacha saw Upama example sutta, saw example sutta, the sutta of the simile of the saw.
Did he say you are not one of my disciples? Is that a?
I think
Did
I'd
he
have to
say-
double check that. It's in my mind. He who bears any ill will towards the people is not one of my followers. Something like not one of my savakas.
Yes, yes. I think he's not kind of following my teaching. Probably it doesn't.
Yeah, I think the idea was he is not fully and correctly following my teaching.
Yes, yes, yes.
He screams rude words at them, it would be a sad lapse. Okay. So, in the examples in sentence formation, in the plural ones, again, it's the monks go to the village with men, so samana, rather than samano, samana, narehi sadhim, with men. Narena Satyam with a man, Narehi Satyam with men, Gamangachanti. And similarly in the second one, Putta Matulehi Saha with their uncles, Chandam Pasanti, watching the moon. And in sentence 3, Kasaka Kakachehi Bruke Chindanti. The Kakachehi instrumental plural without the something because the instrument with which they are cutting. The Kakachehi Ruke Chindanti. And Ruka. Ruka was the tree.
A tree.
A tree.
Okay.
That's like some monks were whinging, oh, we haven't got a comfortable place to go. Where should we go and meditate? Because there's Ataruka Mulani, Siddhata. There are the roots of trees. Sit. So Ruka Mula is a root. So Ruka Mula, a tree root. And in Pali and Sanskrit, they talked about sitting. We talk about sitting at the foot of a tree. In Pali and Sanskrit, you talk more about sitting at the root of a tree. Was the idiomatic way of putting it. So Ataruka Mulani, there are the tree roots. Siddhata, sit. So that concludes the grammar bit in lesson 3. If you had some inner complaint that was just a little bit too short and simple, that fear not, there's much more juicy stuff to come. It piles up in the later lessons. So we can get back to our verse 3 of the Ratana Sutta. Yang Ding Chi Dang. So before I go on, were there any queries arising out of that bit of grammar? So Yang King Shivitang Idhava Kuramba Sagge Suva Yang Ratanang Panitam Nano Samam Atti Tathagatena Idam Bibudhe Ratanam Panitam Etena Satchena Subhati Hotu. Now here we have two instrumentals in this verb of the ena form. Yang Kinchi Vittam, Vitta is the treasure. It literally means just that which is found. It's from vid. This root vid has got several meanings. It is the same root vid from which we get the Latin video and video, vision, visible, is that same root, meaning to see. In primitive and ancient times, to see and to know were overlapping concepts. And for example, in classical Greek, you say, I don't know, you say ukoida, which literally means I have not seen. By the time it came into Sanskrit, it then had taken on the meaning of knowing rather than seeing. And it's from that root vid that we get Veda, as in the Vedas, the Rig Veda and so on, literally the knowledges. Another way of forming a verbal noun is adding a ya to it, which in Sanskrit then becomes vidya. In Pali, this dia in between vowels becomes a double j. So vidya, Sanskrit, becomes vidya in Pali, which we most frequently see in its negated form, avidya, translated as ignorance, literally not knowing, ignorance. Now, there was another meaning from that root, or rather secondary derivative, vindati, an N creeps in. That means to find. So to know where something is and to be able to find it, again, kind of semantically overlapping meanings. And that makes its past participle vitta. Vitta, that which is found, the treasure trove, the word trove from French, trouver, found. Incidentally, this vindati comes into English unaltered, except that the V has become an F. There we are. So our word for to find is vindati in Sanskrit and Pali, and the past participle vitta. Yes. I find it a constant source of fascination how common words of modern English sometimes just sound so close. For example, in Sanskrit, to jump is jumpati.
Jumpati, right.
He gave a jump around the jump into the hole. Jumpati gave a jump, startled. So vitta, that which is found, then came by extension, meaning that which is fortuitously and happily found, therefore treasure, like a treasure trove, something you stumble upon. So young, and then generally treasure. So yankinchi vittam, whatever treasure. Whatever treasure. Idhava Guramba. Idha just means here. Idha. And in English we have a similar word, hither. And so idha and hither are actually from the same origin.
Right.
Idhamba Guramba, whether here or Guram. Guram means in the hereafter. And when you get them together, Idhamba Guramba, whether here or Huram, means whether in this life or in a later life. So just as English is here or in the hereafter, Idhamba Huramba exactly reflects that meaning in Pali. So yankinchivittam, whatever treasure, Idhamba Huramba, here or in the hereafter. Sagge Suba, in the heavens, or in the heavens, yang ratanam, whatever jewel, yang ratanam panitam, whatever exquisite jewel. Na no samang ati tathagatena. The sama comes into English almost unchanged. It's the word same. So sama, Sanskrit Pali, is the word same in English. So it is no, not to us the same. Meaning it is not equal. It does not equal for us. It is not equal to. It is not the same as. Nano samam atti. Not to us the same is as the Tathagata. And here we see another usage of the instrumental. It's not equal to the Tathagata. In Sanskrit Pali, we say equal by the Tathagata. So that's just an idiomatic use of the instrumental. It's not equivalent to, it's not equal to, not worth as much as. So idampi, and this indeed, this too, buddhe ratanam panitam, this too is the exquisite or excellent jewel in the Buddha. So this is a jewel, the jewel-like quality of the Buddha, the exquisite jewel-like quality that the Buddha possesses. So Pranita it may be that any explanation of Pranita will be entirely superfluous for those who've gone to the explanatory lexicon. Sorry, I started off calling it the explanatory lexicon. I thought it was a bit grandiose, so I downgraded it to an explanatory glossary.
All right.
Pranita. Shall I explain the word to you? It's actually quite interesting the way it's formed. It's from the root ni. Meaning to lead. And it makes a verbal noun, same in Sanskrit and Pali, naya. Regularly formed verbal noun, naya. But you normally find it with a prefix. And we commonly see it with the prefix vinaya, which is the monastic discipline. So naya means leading, and vi, a well-known prefix, means like away. So the vinaya is actually that which leads you away or keeps you away from evil. It's kind of a protective leading you away along the paths of righteousness. That's Vinaya. Now, it makes its past participle regularly, ni, past participle, nita, regular. The nita means led, that which has been led out. Now, pranaya, again, that's a word with a number of meanings, but the most common one, pra means forth or out, so pra. If something in Sanskrit is pranita, pranita means brought out or brought forth. In Pali, it becomes pranita, as you see here. And the imagery there, the best of what you have is what you bring forth. And the imagery actually was the correct way of treating your guests. Because what was pranita brought out for the guests was, in theory, the best of what you had was what you would give to your honored guest. So that was the original meaning of pranita, meaning exquisite, excellent, the best that there is. As I say, the original imagery of bringing out the best for the honored guest. And then just by general extension, the best of anything. So ratanam panitam, the most exquisite jewel. So idampi buddhe ratanam panitam. This idampi, this too, idampi, this also, buddhe, locative, in the Buddha, ratanam panitam, the exquisite jewel. On this point, you see the noun followed by the adjective here. The standard order in prose is you put adjective followed by noun, the same as in English and Germanic languages generally, and the Slavonic. But of course, in that rule is less rigid in Sanskrit and Pali, and particularly in poetry, that they can come in either order. So I'll just recite this slowly then. Yang kinshivittam idhava guramba sagge suvayam ratanam panitam nano samang atti tathagatena idampi buddhe ratanam panitam etena satchena suvakti hotu. So, just gone 9, so we'll wind up in a moment. But any queries or comments?
So when you said Hotu.
So Hotu.
Hotu.
Yes.
So is that Hotu? You're not making it very long.
Suvakti Hotu. If I failed to make it long, it was my error.
Right, Suvati Hotu. So it's not Havati Hotu, it's Savati Hotu.
Suvati Hotu. Yeah, in this chanting, sometimes vowel lengths can distort themselves at the end of the verse because of the way it's chanted. In ordinary prose, we Hotu. Suvati Hotu. Hotu. If I made it short, that was my error. Embarrassing error, since I was pontificating on the subject.
But it was correct for the chanting. No. That's what I'm trying. That's the subtlety I'm trying to.
Right. How do we chant
Suvati Hotu?
Yeah, so it's very distinctly long in the way we chant.
Yes, it's that sort of medium length.
I'm going to resist that. As a matter of academic purity, I feel obliged to resist that. By the way, Hotu, do you know how Hotu, the word Hotu arises? We have the word Bhavati. This is very, very regular Bhavati. She is. In Pali, That's identical in Pali and Sanskrit. In Pali, but not in Sanskrit, that word can be softened, in linguistics, lenited, or softened to hoti. So bhavati hoti is the same word, it is just a colloquial shortening of it. It's become a regular form in Pali. There's no distinction of meaning, they're used interchangeably. Just remember, bhavati, both Sanskrit and Pali, hoti, Pali only. And then we have the phenomenon for the third person verbs that are indicative ending in ti or anti, as in bhavanti, rakhanti, just change the e to an u to make the imperative form. And in the imperative form in Pali can equally be hotu or bhavatu.
Yeah.
As we sing, so the hotu that you see here, last word in this verse, suvati hotu, is exact. There's no distinction at all between hotu and bhavatu. So bhavatu sabbamangalam, we could equally say hotu sabbamangalam. It wouldn't fit in with the meter because bhavatu has three syllables. But from the point of view of the meaning, there's no distinction at all. And equally, you could say in this verse, etena sakchena suvati bhavatu. Again, it wouldn't fit the meter, but the meaning would be identical. Good.
Right.
So, are there any queries or comments? Perhaps should we wind up by chanting these three verses?
Yeah.
Have you worked so far? Oh, okay. This is our chanting book. Have you looked at that? Yes. Okay, right. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, yes, that's right. I better stand it. Okay, let's chant it together.
Right.
Yani bhutani samagatani
Ummani vayani va antarike sabbe bhutas sumabhavantu atopi sakhacha sunantu hasitam Isameta sabe metangarotamasya Ivacharatu sharanti evani tasmahine rakata appamata Kim Shivitam Yedawa Urangwa Sage Suvayam Ratalam Panitam Mano Samangati Tatagatena Idam Bibhude Ratanam Panitam Etena Sachena Suvati Hotu Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.